This is the Transformers Legacy Voyager class Soundwave. Let's give a quick look at the box art. Absolutely fantastic. I picked it up at my local Toys R Us store for a whopping $46. Oh man, don't you just love inflation? The prices of Transformers here in Manila are just ridiculous. We are now the most expensive place to buy retail Hasbro products in Asia. Man. Anyway, here is the figure. Seems to be okay. Very slight mold degradation. Not completely flimsy and floppy and all that, but there is some looseness in some of the joints. He still comes with his 3 weapons, his blaster, his shoulder-mounted cannon, and the fold-out gun. Now, let's bring in the Siege Soundwave, and let's make a bit of a comparison with the accessories that they have and the colors of the actual figure. So let's begin with the gray fold-out gun. And you can clearly see it is a little bit of a darker gray plastic than this one. This one's a little bit lighter, it's more matte. This one is a little more glossier and a little bit darker gray plastic. Let's look at the blasters. The same, I think my comments are going to be the same for the gray plastic. This one's a little darker than the original. The blue, I believe, is a little bit darker. We'll show off more of the comparison of the blue plastic they use in robot mode. But look at the blasters. This one's a little lighter and shinier. This one's a little bit darker and less shiny. The red paint that they used is, this one's a little darker than this one. This one's a little bit more on the purplish pinkish side. This one's a little bit more on the maroon brownish side. And then the shoulder cannon, it's the same for me. The gray is a little bit darker on this one. The blue plastic much darker. The shinier red stripe, this one's a little bit more matte and brown. Okay, now as far as the figures go, look at that. The blue is definitely darker. The blue plastic that they used, much darker than the Siege version. And I don't think it's just a quality control issue. The Siege version, a little bit more shinier. This one is not as shiny, a little bit more matte. The silver paint that they used, this one's a little bit shinier. Even the gold trim, I think, is a lot more metallic and shiny. The gray plastic, a little bit darker and shinier on this version. This one's a little bit more matte and lighter. The black paint that they used, silver paint, very similar. You can see the clear white plastic that they used. This one's a little bit more frosted than this one. And I think the biggest difference that I can see is, well, the clear yellow plastic, the translucent yellow plastic that they used for the eyes. You can see that on the Siege version, let me just bring in that light bulb so you can see that light piping. The Siege version uses a frosted translucent yellow plastic, whereas this new Legacy version uses this much clearer crystal-like clear yellow plastic. That is probably the biggest difference that they've had, they put for this figure, and I love it. I actually like this Legacy version better because this one, you can still get some light piping, but it feels very muted and subdued. This one is just really bright. His eyes are really illuminated because of that clear crystalline type of yellow plastic. The plastic they used for the chest looks to be very similar. And yeah, those are the major differences that I can see with both figures. Now let's bring in the Netflix EARTHRISE Soundwave. So obviously the Netflix Soundwave has the darkest blue colored plastic, whereas the Siege version has the lightest blue plastic, and then I guess the Legacy is somewhere in between the shades of blue. So if you have the Siege minions or cassette tapes, they can still fit with this new Soundwave, and you can still peg them on the peg holes and have them sit here or store them here on his chest. I think it looks better because there's no battle damage. You can clearly see the cassettes inside. Now, as far as transformation goes, I mean, he turns into a ship, but to me, that's not the transformation of Soundwave. So we're going to turn him into a boombox because that's the only alt mode I know he has. So you can still, I guess, turn him into a boombox. Rotate this like this, and then fold, rotate that. Okay, fold, fold. Okay. All right, and there you go. There is Legacy Soundwave in his Boombox Alt Mode. I think this is his proper Alt Mode. And for comparison, in the Boombox Alt Mode, here is Siege Soundwave again. Yeah, definitely the Legacy looks much better, even in Boombox Alt Mode. Here's a comparison of both of them in their Communication Array or Lamppost Alt Mode. And finally, here they are both in their Cybertronian Spaceship Alt Mode. Yeah. And so some final thoughts on this new Legacy Voyager class Soundwave. I think it's the better version. Definitely better than the Siege version because, you know, I personally have a bias against these battle damage versions of Transformers. Some people might like the battle damage version better. That's all well and good, but I personally prefer the cleaner version of a figure. There is some mold degradation, so you have to be wary about that. Albeit it's not a perfect substitute for the Netflix EARTHRISE Soundwave. That is still the most definitive generation Soundwave we have to date. This could be a stand-in. I think. I mean, if you missed out on the Netflix version, if it's too ridiculously priced online and you just don't have the funds for it, this is the next best thing, I believe. A clean looking Soundwave. If you just keep him in his robot mode, he's a great looking G1 styled generations Soundwave, in my opinion. The figure is going to get I want to give it a 10 out of 10. I mean, despite all the mold degradation and all that, I think it still deserves a 10 out of 10. I'm a little biased because I like it cleaner, but I do like this figure more. And it looks like I'm going to be letting go and getting rid of my Siege Soundwave, and I'm just going to be keeping this one. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this new Legacy Soundwave. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.